Imagine you're 36 years old. You wake up one morning, check your bank account, look at your retirement savings, and realize something uncomfortable. You're not exactly where you thought you'd be. Maybe you have a decent job, a family, a mortgage, a car payment, and a few investments. From the outside, your life looks completely normal. But then you ask yourself one simple question. If I couldn't work anymore, how long could I actually survive? Suddenly, the answer doesn't feel so comfortable. Maybe you've saved some money. Maybe you have a 401k. Maybe you've invested a little. But deep down, you know you could be doing more. And then that dangerous thought appears. Am I already too late? If you're 36, here's the answer. No, you're not too late. In fact, 36 could be one of the most important financial ages of your life. You still have decades ahead of you to earn, save, invest, and potentially benefit from compound growth. The question isn't whether you should have started at 26. The question is what you're going to do now. So imagine that today, at 36, you make a decision. You're not going to become a millionaire overnight. You're not going to chase the next hot stock. You're not going to follow some internet guru promising financial freedom in 6 months. Instead, you're going to spend the next decade building wealth deliberately. No shortcuts, no gambling, just a system you can actually stick with. And if you follow that system, your life at 40, 45, and 50 could look completely different from the life you're living today. At 36, you're probably dealing with more responsibilities than you had in your 20s. Maybe you have a mortgage, children, student loans, credit card debt, insurance payments, and countless other expenses competing for your paycheck. That's why your first goal shouldn't be becoming rich. Your first goal should be becoming financially stable. You build an emergency fund. You attack high-interest debt. You stop depending on credit cards every time something unexpected happens. Then you create a system where part of every paycheck automatically goes toward your future. Maybe it's $300 a month. Maybe it's $500. Maybe you can invest $1,000. The exact amount depends on your income and situation. What matters is consistency. Because if you have to decide every month whether you're going to save, eventually you'll find a reason not to. There will always be another vacation, another repair, another bill, or something you suddenly need. That's why automation matters. Your future gets paid before your present gets the chance to spend everything. And at the beginning, it won't feel impressive. You save your first $1,000, and you think, that's it. You reach $5,000, and it still doesn't feel like wealth. You reach $10,000, and you're still nowhere near financially independent. This is where people quit. They expect wealth to feel exciting immediately. It doesn't. The beginning is usually slow because you're doing almost all the work yourself. But eventually, something changes. Your money starts working alongside you. Let's say, purely as an illustration, your long-term investments average 7% annually. A 7% return on $1,000 is only about $70. That's not life-changing, but 7% on $100,000 is about $7,000. On $500,000, it's about $35,000. The percentage didn't change, your capital did. That's why the early years can feel frustrating. You're pushing the snowball. Later, if you stay consistent, the snowball can gain momentum. Now, imagine you're 40. 4 years have passed since you started taking wealth seriously. Maybe you're still not rich, but your financial life has changed. You have an emergency fund. Your expensive debt is under control. You're investing automatically. Your income may have increased, and you've learned more about money than you knew at 36. But the biggest change might be psychological. At 36, you might have looked at $1,000 and thought, what can I buy with this? At 40, You might look at that same $1,000 and think, what could this become? That's a completely different mindset. You start understanding opportunity cost. Every dollar has a choice attached to it. You can spend it today, or you can use it to potentially create more options tomorrow. And this is where you begin to understand the difference between looking wealthy and actually becoming wealthy. Looking wealthy is easy. A new car can make you look successful. A bigger house can make you look successful. Expensive clothes can make you look successful. Luxury vacations can make you look successful. But none of those things automatically create financial security. Real wealth is often invisible. It's the investment account nobody sees. It's the emergency fund sitting quietly in the background. It's the debt you paid off without announcing it. It's the money you didn't spend. Your income may also be higher by 40. Maybe you received promotions. Maybe you changed companies. Maybe you learned a valuable skill. Maybe you started a side business. And now you have another opportunity. Instead of allowing every raise to become a lifestyle upgrade, you increase your savings and investments. You get a raise. You invest part of it. You get a bonus. You invest part of it. You increase your income. You increase your financial goals. You don't have to stop enjoying life. You just stop allowing your lifestyle to grow as fast as your income. Because that's one of the biggest reasons people can earn more money for decades without becoming wealthy. They earn more. They spend more. They upgrade everything. And somehow, they remain financially stressed. Your goal is different. You want your income to grow faster than your expenses. Now you're 45. 9 years have passed since you started. This is where things can become much more interesting. Imagine you're investing $1,000 every month. That's $12,000 a year. Over 9 years, you've personally contributed around $108,000. But your investment account isn't necessarily worth only what you contributed. Your investments may have generated returns along the way, and those returns can potentially generate additional returns. That's compounding. It doesn't guarantee a specific result, and markets can go up and down. But time gives your money more opportunities to grow. At 36, the growth may seem tiny. At 45, you may start seeing years of contributions and potential growth working together. And your mindset changes again. You stop thinking only about your paycheck. You start thinking about your net worth. You start thinking about assets. You start thinking about retirement. You start asking yourself how long you could live without your paycheck. That's a powerful question, because wealth isn't really about having a huge number in your bank account. It's about having options. Imagine your boss suddenly makes your job unbearable. At 36, maybe you can't leave. You need the paycheck. You need the health insurance. You need the money. But after years of saving and investing, your situation could be completely different. You might be able to negotiate. You might be able to change careers. You might take a lower-paying job that gives you more freedom. You might even be able to walk away. That's what financial independence really starts to create. The ability to say no. The ability to choose. The ability to stop making every decision based on fear. And that freedom can be worth far more than another luxury purchase. Now let's jump to 50. 14 years have passed since you started. Maybe you're not a millionaire. That's okay. The goal was never to become rich overnight. The goal was to become financially stronger every year. Think about what 14 years of consistent behavior could potentially create. You could have a substantial retirement portfolio. You could have significantly reduced your debt. You could have a strong emergency reserve. You could have increased your income. You could have developed valuable skills. And you could have created something even more valuable. Financial confidence. You wake up knowing that one bad month won't destroy your entire life. If your car breaks down, you have options. If your company lays you off, you have options. If you want to change careers, you have options. If you want to work less someday, you're closer to having that choice. That's what wealth buys, not just things. Freedom. But there's one major trap you need to avoid on this journey. Comparison. You open social media and see someone your age driving a Lamborghini. Someone else bought $1 million house. Someone claims they made hundreds of thousands trading stocks. And suddenly you feel behind. But you don't know their balance sheet. You don't know their debt. You don't know their expenses. You don't know whether the lifestyle is sustainable. You're comparing your behind the scenes to somebody else's highlight reel. Stop. Wealth isn't a race against strangers. Your real competition is the person you were 1 year ago. Are you saving more? Are you investing consistently? Is your debt going down? Is your income increasing? Is your net worth moving in the right direction? If yes, you're making progress. And if you're 36 and starting with almost nothing, don't let that discourage you. Maybe your first goal isn't $1,000 a month. Maybe it's saving your first $1,000, then $5,000, then $10,000. Maybe your first priority is eliminating high-interest debt. That's still wealth building. The goal isn't to climb the entire mountain today. The goal is to take the next step. Because 4 years from now, you're going to be 40 anyway. 9 years from now, you're going to be 45 anyway. 14 years from now, you're going to be 50 anyway. Time is going to pass whether you build wealth or not. The only question is what you'll have to show for it. You can spend the next 14 years constantly upgrading your lifestyle, or you can spend those 14 years upgrading your financial freedom. You can keep telling yourself that you're too late, or you can decide that today is the earliest day you have left. And maybe that's the most important lesson. 36 isn't the end of your financial story. It's a starting point. You're older than you were at 26, but you're also more experienced. You may earn more. You probably understand yourself better. And you know more about what you actually want from life. Combine that experience with discipline, patience, and time, and you can build something powerful. You don't need the perfect investment. You don't need a 6-figure salary. You don't need to predict the next market crash. You don't need to become rich overnight. You need a system you can follow. Earn more. Spend intentionally. Eliminate expensive debt. Build an emergency fund. Invest consistently. Increase your contributions as your income grows. Avoid lifestyle inflation. Stay patient. And give your money time. That's how wealth is actually built. Quietly. Slowly. One decision at a time. So, if you're 36 today, don't ask yourself, why didn't I start 10 years ago? Ask yourself a better question. What would my life look like if I started today and stayed consistent for the next 14 years? Because your 40-year-old self is coming. Your 45-year-old self is coming. Your 50-year-old self is coming. And that future version of you is going to live with the consequences of what you decide today. You can give that person more debt, more stress, and more financial uncertainty. Or you can give them savings, investments, options, freedom, and peace of mind. The choice doesn't happen when you're 50. It happens right now. At 36, with the next paycheck, the next investment, the next financial decision, and the next small step. Because you don't need to become wealthy today. You just need to start building the financial life your future self will be grateful for. And years from now, you may look back at this exact moment and realize something very important. You weren't too late, you just needed to start.